of that, and it actually intrigued me, and I want to know more about that. So I think that's something I'd like to do. I love the fact that the keys to the mystery were locked inside an eccentric former patient of Blackwater, but it proved very challenging to get those secrets unlocked from this patient. I highly recommend this book if you're looking for a good creepy read and you want to cool off this summer. Read The Bone Jar.
Sounds like a winner. The next book I have is another friend of the show, Molten City by Chris Nixon. It's number 8 in his Tom Harper series. It's put out by Severn House, and it came out August 7th. It follows the story of Tom Harper, who is in Leeds, England, and he is the sheriff or constable of the town. This starts out in 1908. Tom's still on the job, but he's sort of winding down. It's not what it used to be. He finds out that the Prime Minister is going to come for a visit. And the only problem with that is we have women suffragettes in the town. It was the Amy Pankhurst branch that put themselves in to be arrested and force-fed. Well, Tom's daughter has become a follower of the suffragettes. Her big goal in life is to start a business school for women. This is 1908, remember, so women don't have a lot of pull. But she wants to go to the protest for the Prime Minister. Well, Tom's trying to stop that. He said, if you ruin your reputation by being put in with these people, no one will take you seriously when you go to start a business. I mean, you're going to have a reputation as a protester. But then he gets a note delivered to him at his house. It involves a child who was stolen from the poorest section in town 20 years previously, so at the end of the 1800s. He was 2. And Tom starts to look into this. The avenue that he goes down, it's scary. The whole book, you just feel comfort knowing Tom's in charge. He's going to fix everything he can. It's a very, very well done book. Chris Nixon, he's a wonderful writer.
I would totally agree.
I like all his series. He has 3 or 4.
Well, I have another book that I've read recently, and it's called Hid from Our Eyes. It is number 9 in the Reverend Claire Ferguson and Russ Van Alstyne series by Julia Spencer Fleming. And I also listened to this one on audio. It's a Macmillan audio, and Suzanne Torin was the narrator. I have read all of this series. I was hooked from the very beginning. Russ Van Alstyne is the sheriff of the Miller's Kill Police Department, and that's in New England. Reverend Claire Ferguson, she's a native of Virginia, but she's a Presbyterian minister who is assigned to the Miller's Kill district for the Presbyterian Church. And that's how they first meet. 7 or 8 books into the series, they wind up getting married. And now in number 9, they have a baby together.
That happens.
It does. Besides being a Presbyterian minister, she also has a background in the military. She was a helicopter pilot. So she had gone back into service in the Afghanistan war, I believe it was. When she came back afterwards, she had PTSD, she had become addicted, and she's still struggling with both of these problems that are leftovers from going to war again. So that's where we start out, as well as Russ coming out of a town meeting where they're talking about abolishing the Miller's Kill Police Department because it's a small police department and budget cuts and, you know, all that kind of stuff that goes on. So he's fighting for his job and she's struggling with her background and a brand new baby. They find a girl dead in the middle of the street.
As you will.
Yeah. So Russ is under the gun. He's got to solve this murder, and he's got to do it quickly because he's got to save the police department. When they do find this girl, it rings a bell. And this book is very well done in that it goes back to 1952, where there was the original story of the girl found in the middle of the street, and she's dressed to the nines. There's very distinct aspects to the crime. They never did find the killer in 1952. Along comes 1972, and guess what? Another girl was found in the middle of the street, dressed to the nines. Couldn't find her killer. But at that time, Russ, just having come back from Vietnam, happened to be a suspect. This is why Russ is very familiar with the scene of the crime, because he was very involved with the 1972 murder. They never did find the killer in 1972, and actually, Russ was still a person of interest. They really never did clear him, but they couldn't pin it on him either. He becomes chief of police, and it's present day, so he recognizes the aspects of this murder as being the third in what looks like a serial killing. So it's a very, very complicated investigation. I just can't recommend this book highly enough from that point of view, because Julia did such a great job walking you through each of the murders, keeping everything very, very tight, and kept the story moving really, really well. Jumped back and forth from 1972, 1952, present day, back and forth. But I never got lost with the story. It explained a lot about why Russ is the way he is. This is, I think, the first time in the series that we really find out a lot about Russ's background. Then again, you have Claire going through her struggles. Usually she's much more involved with the investigations because she kind of inserts herself into the investigations.
Well, I have to say, I had the pleasure of reading this book as well. Where Kathy has read the whole series, this was my first delve into this series. And I have to say, as somebody who hasn't read it, that I wasn't lost. They did a good job of kind of recapping you on their lives, so you didn't feel that you were coming into the middle of something. I'm sure Kathy will recommend that you read the whole series, but if you want to just start with this one, you will not be disappointed.
Sounds like a series I'd probably like to check out.
Well, I hope you enjoyed having a lot more choices to add to your to-be-read list.
Trivia! Last week's question was, which true crime book is the most sold true crime book of all time? A. Helter Skelter by Vincent Bugliosi. B. In Cold Blood by Truman Capote. C. The Stranger Beside Me by Anne Rule. Or D. Devil in the White City by Eric Larson. The answer is B. In Cold Blood by Truman Capote. This week's question is, Dashiell Hammett is famous for creating such great mystery heroes as Sam Spade and Nick Charles, or the Thin Man. How was he able to depict such true-to-life detectives? A. He rode along with the police on cases. B. He was a Pinkerton detective. C. He hired a detective to solve one of his cases. Or D. He interviewed over 50 detectives to research his stories. Good luck! Well, that brings us to the end of another episode. We hope you enjoyed our take on what we're reading, and we hope you will join us next week. And remember,
Life would be boring without a little mystery.
Bye.